Okay, so I assume that there are no questions. Let's get started with whatever we saw yesterday. So, let me open brackets. All right. So we were looking at this problem yesterday, right? The add function yesterday, and we managed to make all the test cases pass. So we were able to write just one add function, uh, which is, matter of fact, only 16 lines of code, which can do an amazing job of aggregating numbers given in any form possible, right? So we were looking at 15 different combinations of invoking this particular function, but if you look at this, right, this is a little redundant. So this logic is repeating here, except the fact that this line number 4 to 7 is operating on return to operate on an array, whereas line number 12 to 15 is return to operate on arguments, right? So what is the right way to optimize this? What is the right way to refactor this? Avoid this duplication. Okay, so let us leave it at this. So here our goal is, if we can convert the array into arguments, right? If we can convert the array into arguments, then we can very easily take this, right? Instead of this, we can use this logic, right? So how do we do that? Let us look at this now. In order to understand this, right? In order to understand this, we discussed yesterday that whenever you invoke a function, there are two implicit values that get passed to the function. One is arguments, the other one is this, right? One is arguments, the other one is this. Arguments we discussed yesterday. It is an array-like object, has an indexer, and has a length attribute using which you can, using the indexer, you can iterate through the list of arguments. Now, how does this work? How does this work? So what is the significance of this in JavaScript? Let us look at this. All right. Now, in JavaScript, right, the way this works, the way this works is slightly a little different when compared to other languages. How different is it? Let me take you through a simple example. Let me say where emp equal to, I am creating an object, right, and say name is Magesh, comma, display is a plain simple function, and where I say console.log I am, comma, this dot name, right? I am, comma, this dot name. A very simple what to say, object, right? A very simple object. So the object has a name attribute, a display method. Now when I call emp.display, it prints I am Magesh, right? When I call emp.display, it prints I am Magesh. No doubts about it. If it is printing I am Magesh, it means that this dot name resolved to this attribute, which means that this in the function resolved to the object. You agree with me? Right? So only if this inside the function points to, resolves to this particular object, that this dot name can be Magesh. Right? Now the question is, what do you think is the reason why this in the function refers to this object? What do you think is the reason why this in the function, in this particular function, refers to this object? What do you think is the reason? we are most likely inclined to think that this in the function refers to the object because the function is inside this object, right? Or the object contains the function. That is most like that's a conclusion most of us likely to arrive at. But the point is, in JavaScript, who has the function does not matter. Who owns the function does not matter. Where the function is does not matter. Then what matters? What matters is how the function is invoked. Is it clear? How the function is invoked. That is what it matters. So in this case, you are invoking the function as a method of an object. So the this in the function would refer to this object. Are you with me? Do you understand? The reason why this in the function refers to the object is not because the function is inside the object, but because you are invoking the function with the context of the object. Now you may say, you may ask, Mahesh, what stupid argument is this? The function is inside the object. So how does it matter if you say that this refers to the object because the function is inside the object, or if you say that this refers to the object because the function is invoked using the object? Because the function is inside the object, the only way by which you can invoke the function is by saying emp.display. Is there any other way of invoking the function? No. At least currently what we have, we don't have any other way by which we can invoke the function, right? So now it doesn't matter how we say that, right? Irrespective of how we are saying it, that this refers to that particular function. Okay. In this context, it doesn't matter. In this example, it doesn't matter. Let me take a slightly different example. Let us do this. Watch this. Where emp equal to an object that says name is Mahesh. Right? Now let me write a function display. Right? Console.log I am, comma, this dot name. Now, does the object and the function have any relationship to each other at this point of time? No, they don't have any relationship whatsoever between each other. Okay, very good. Now, you know what I can do? When I say, I can say emp.display equal to display. Watch this. I am not invoking the function. I am not invoking the function. I am directly assigning the function. When I assign the function, I am not taking a copy of the function. I am only creating a new reference to the display function. So emp.display is another reference to the display function. How so? In JavaScript, functions and objects are reference types. Right? Functions and objects are reference types. Right? Whereas numbers, strings and booleans are value types. So when you make an assignment, what will happen? Only a reference will be assigned. You will not take a copy of it. You will not make a duplicate of it. Only a reference will be assigned. Now, how do I prove this? Look at this. Yesterday we discussed about functions can have attributes, isn't it? So now what I will do, I want to prove that employee.display is nothing but a reference to this particular function. So what can I do? I can do something like this. Take the original function, create an attribute to this. So I'll say created at equal to date dot now, right, is equal to date dot now. I have just is equal to date dot now. Now look at this. Emp dot display dot created at is equal to, is it the same value? Which means emp dot display is nothing but a reference to this function. Are we all convinced here? Okay. Now stop me if you have any questions. So now when I say emp.display, I am invoking the function that is not inside the employee. The function is outside the object. It is not contained in the object. It is outside the object. Now when I say emp.display, it says I am Magesh, which means what? The reason why that this refers to the object is not because the function is inside the object, but because you invoke the function with the context of the object. You invoke the function as a method of an object. So when a function is invoked as a method of an object, right? So what are all the ways by which you can invoke functions? Function invocation, right? As a method of an object. So when you invoke the function as a method of an object, what will be the this? The this would be the object. Are you with me? When you invoke the function as a method of an object, the this would refer to the object whose method you are invoking, right? So it gives you the same value. Okay. This brings us another interesting concept, interesting question. What is it? Now the function is outside the object. I can also display it as just a plain simple function, not as a method of an object, but as a regular function, right? Now what happens when you invoke the function as a normal function? What happens when you invoke the function as a normal function? What will be the this context, right? It says I am empty string. It is not undefined. It is I am empty string. Why? Because when you invoke the function as a normal function, just as a function, that this refers to the global scope. What is global scope in browser? Window. Okay, so when you invoke a function as a normal function, that this would refers to the window. That this would refer to the window. Now, number 2 is as a function. When you invoke it as a function, then that this refers to the window. Okay. Now, how do I confirm it? Watch this. What is window.name? Window.name is an empty string. Now say window.name is equal to Chrome browser. Window.name equal to Chrome browser. Now simply call display. You'll find that it says I am Chrome browser, which means when you invoke the function as a regular function, that this refers to the global object which is window. That this refers to the global object which is window. Are you with me? Right? Okay. So these are all the two different ways by which you can invoke the function. Now there are two more ways by which, actually there are 6 ways by which you can invoke the function, but we will look at one after another. So in order to better understand the other 2 ways of invoking the function, right, I need to slightly deviate from this topic a little bit and look into a different topic. What is it? Let us clear the whole stuff. Let me take an object. Does the object have any attribute? No. Does it have any methods? No. I say obj.id equal to 100. Now what does the object contain? The object contains only one attribute by name id. It doesn't seem to have anything else. Right? It doesn't seem to have anything else. Okay, very good. Now the question is, I can say obj.toString. Okay, I can say the obj.toString. My question is not why this prints this, why it prints this. No, that is not the question. The question is, where is the toString method coming from? How did the object get the toString method? Just now we saw that it has only the id attribute, but where the toString method came from, right? And when you are working in JavaScript, right, you have a very, very powerful command that is your best friend. I learned 75% of JavaScript just with the help of only this command, right? It is console.dir. When you do a console.dir of the object, right, it gives you how the object is represented in the memory, right? So the object, this is your object, expand this, you have the id attribute, right? Not just the id attribute, you also see one more thing, a hidden attribute called __proto__. Now every object has one object as a base, and the link between the current object and the base object is maintained using this attribute underscore underscore proto underscore underscore. So your object, your obj, is inheriting from this base object, and by inheritance all the properties and methods of the base object are available to your derived object. Now look at this. When you expand this, do you see a toString method? Do you see a toString method? Right? So this is what you invoke here. Are you with me? So every object by default inherits from one another object, and all the properties and methods of that object are available at your disposal. And one of the methods is toString, which is what you invoke. Okay. So how is the relationship between your object and the derived, and the base object is maintained? It is that the relationship is maintained using a simple attribute called underscore underscore proto underscore underscore. Right, guys? I'm assuming that if you have any questions, you will stop me. Okay. Now, okay. So having understood the significance of underscore underscore proto underscore underscore, let us take a function. Can we find arguments variable in object? Can we find arguments variable in object?
We have two implicit variables, right? Like arguments and this. So can we find arguments in the parent object?
Arguments will be available only in function.
Okay.
Not in objects. Arguments will be available only in functions. Okay. Now let us take a function. So function fn. I say console.log fn is invalid. Right? Now let me do a console.dir of fn. This will be interesting. Right? Yesterday we discussed that functions are also objects. Yeah. Hot water. Please 1 second. Sorry. Sorry, I was okay. So now when you do a console.dir of fn, right? Yesterday we discussed that functions are also objects. So now when you further expand this, you see here, these are all the default attributes available to any function. So when I say fn dot name, it gives you fn. fn.len will give you 0. So what is this fn.len? Basically, if you have a function, so function x fx, and this takes y and z as an argument, fx.len will give you 2. Basically, how many arguments are defined in that particular function? That is what it checks. Okay, so these are all some of the attributes available to your function. Now, our interest is not in this particular list of attributes. What is it? It is, let me do a console.dir of fn. It is go to the base object. What is it? Underscore underscore proto underscore underscore. When you further go to the base object underscore underscore proto underscore underscore, you find 3 methods. What are they? One is apply, the other one is bind, the third one is call. Right? Apply, bind, and call. Now these 3 methods are very important in a function. All these functions, these are called as ABC functions, ABC methods of a function. Are you with me? So all these functions, apply, bind, and call, all these functions have got something to do with this context. Is it clear? Have got something to do with this context. How so? Look at this. Now what I can do, we have this function. I can invoke the function by saying fn. I can also invoke the function using the call method of the function. I can also invoke using the apply method of the function. Am I making sense? Right? So only to make you understand where the call and apply method originate from, I have to give all the story. But the moral of the story is every function has three methods. By default, every function comes with three methods. What are they? Call, apply, bind, and call, ABC. Right? Out of this, you can invoke a function using the call method and as well as using the apply method. Now we have covered 4 different ways by which you can invoke the function, right? So as a method of an object, as a function. Now what is the other one? The other one is using the call method, and the fourth one is using the apply method, right? Using the apply method. Okay. Now what makes the difference? What makes the difference? The difference is when you are invoking the function using call or apply, you can dynamically set what should be the this context of the function during invocation. You can dynamically set what should be the this context of the function during invocation, right? How so? Let me show you an example. Let us take the same employee object. Let us take the same employee object. Here is your employee object. Let us take the display method. Here is your display method. Now at this point of time, there exists no relationship between these two. But I want to invoke the display method in such a way that, the display function in such a way that it prints I am Magesh. So this is the desired result. This is what we want. And in order to get this desired result, what am I supposed to do? I am supposed to say emp.display equal to display, and then I am supposed to say emp.display. Invoke the method, invoke the function as a method of the employee object. So first, make the function a method of the object and then invoke it as a method of the object, right? Now this will work perfectly fine. This will work perfectly fine. But unfortunately, this creates a long-lasting relationship between the object and the function. Yeah. Is it okay now? No, I haven't started. There is a power cut here. Now is it better? Just give me a second. Let me stop sharing it and let me share this. Do everyone have the same problem? Now are you able to see the screen?
No. Yeah, I'm able to see the screen now.
Okay, good. Now let us take the object. So where emp equal to an object with the member Magesh and name, and function This is what we wrote earlier, right? Function display, and we said console.log I am comma this dot name. Right? Now I want I am Magesh. This is the result. And in order to do that, I need to make the function a method of the object and then invoke the method. Right? Invoke the function as a method of the object. The only problem with this is that this step, right, the place where you make the function a method of the object creates a long-lasting relationship between the function and the object. Now, here is the thing. There are a lot of scenarios where you want to establish a very strong relationship between the function and the object. No doubt about it. But there are also a lot of scenarios where you don't want this to be created. You want this context of the function to point to the employee object, but you don't want it to be existing, that relationship to exist for a long period of time, only for a short period of time. But instead only for a short period of time. Now, what is the duration? The duration. No, I'm sitting in the same place. Why is this not clear? Guys, is everyone?
Voice is not clear.
Everyone is facing the same thing? Am I audible to everyone? Yeah, for Satish it seems to be better.
Okay, let me check. Okay, yeah, you can continue. I'm sorry. Okay.
Sure, no issues. Yeah, thank you. Thanks everyone. Okay. So now I don't want this step. So there are a lot of scenarios where you want a long-lasting relationship between the function and the object. There are scenarios where you don't want that to be. Okay, so you simply want only during the execution of the function you want this context to point to the object, but after that you don't want any relationship between these two. And this is where exactly the call and apply comes into picture. By using call and apply, you can dynamically change this context of the function. Using call and apply, you can dynamically change this context of the function. How? Watch this. Watch this. Let me take the display function, invoke it using call, but pass the employee object as this context. You see what you get? Display.call emp. Similarly, you can also say display.apply emp. Now, does it mean that the employee, you have made the display function a method of the object? No. The employee still has only the name attribute. It has no relationship whatsoever with the function. But you are able to invoke the display function in such a way that this context points to the object. Does it make sense? What makes the difference between call and apply? I will explain. But is this clear? So you can dynamically change this context of the function by invoking the function using the call and apply methods and pass whichever object that you want to act as this context as the argument. Right? This is a very, very powerful feature. Trust me, you can do magic with this. You can do magic with this in JavaScript. Right? I'll try to show you some simple examples. But for now, right? Now, both seem to give the same result. So then what makes the difference between call and apply? What makes the difference between call and apply? Now, in order to explain better what I have done, I have taken a function that does not take any arguments. Right? In order to explain better, I have taken a function that does not take any arguments. But what if the function takes an argument? How will I pass the arguments to the function? Why? Because you see display.call, you are passing this context. But how will I pass the arguments to the display function then? Right? Now, let us take another simple example. So function greet. I'll take salutation, comma, message. And this will say console.log salutation plus this dot name plus comma plus the message. Right? Now we have the employee object. What I want to do? I want to get an output. I want to invoke the greet function in such a way that it prints Mr. Magesh. I'm sorry, Mr. Magesh, have a nice day. This is the desired output. Now, in order to get this output, what I can typically do, I can say emp.greet equal to greet, and then I can say emp.greet of Mr. Comma, this is your salutation, and have a nice day. Have a nice day. So this is what I can do if I want to make the function a method of the object. But I don't want to make the function a method of the object. So what can I do? Very simple. Look at this. How this transforms here, right? First using call. So using call, when I do it with call, the way it does, you do it is greet dot call. Greet is the function. You invoke it using the call method. First pass, the first argument is when you invoke the function using call or apply, the first argument is always the this context. Whichever object that you want to act as the this context, that object becomes the first argument. So here, what is our this context? Emp is our this context. So emp comma. Now you pass the list that you want to pass as argument to the greet function. So it is Mr. comma, have a nice day. Now it says Mr. Magesh, have a nice day. So the first argument is this context, and the subsequent values are passed as simple comma separated list, and that becomes the arguments to the greet function, right? So now this is how you invoke the function with arguments using the call method. Now how do I do with how do I get the same effect with the help of the apply method? So using apply, using apply, it is more or less the same thing, right? It's more or less the same thing. Copy this, paste it here, and this is greet.apply, but everything is the same. The first argument is that this context is the same. The only difference is the arguments to the greet function is passed as an array. Right? Whatever arguments that you want to pass to the greet function, it is passed as an array. Now, that is the only difference between call and apply. Do you see? You still get the same result. So, in the case of a call, the argument values are passed as your regular argument list. In the case of the apply, the argument values are passed as an array. Right? So, how do you remember it? A for A, apply for array, right? Now, so what did I say? In the case of apply, the argument list is passed as an array. Can I also say that if you have an array of values, and if you want these values to be converted into an argument list to this particular function, invoke the function using apply. Can I say that? Can I say that? Right? So if I have an array of values and I want the array of values to be converted into an argument list to the function, what I have to do? Simply invoke the function using apply method and pass the array of values. So the array of values will be converted into an argument list. Right? Now this is our original problem. What is it? I want to convert the array into arguments. So instead of doing all these things, since I already have the logic written for aggregating a list of arguments, all I have to do is, you don't have to rewrite this, but instead say return, call the same add function again, but using apply. Now the reason why I call guys, Rajendran feels that the voice is breaking frequently. Do others also facing the same issue?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. So I will end the meeting and restart the meeting. I'll leave the meeting and restart the meeting. Is it okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I'm just going to disconnect from the meeting and restart it. I don't know why, but let me restart.